Well, good morning. It's Reverend Gabe Beauregard with the Alpine Church of Spiritual Living. Welcome you into my office here. So let's go ahead, and as we have the information presented today, I want to share with you my thought for the week, which was written for the newspaper earlier this week. The mystery of life is dominant in our collective experience right now. So many questions are surfacing. Life as usual has broken down, and we are faced with being more responsive and creative than perhaps we've ever known. I called a friend on his 88th birthday this past week, and he told me that never in all of his years has he experienced these plagues, he's experienced depressions, he's experienced world wars, and yet our country and the world has never been in such a crisis. These truly are uncertain times. How we respond to them will determine the outcome for years to come. As with everything in life, we basically have two choices: fear or love. Fear seems to be on the top of the list for many around the world, for that is a basic human response. It would be reckless to say that we just love what is going on right now. However, if we can just take the attitude that hidden in the mystery of this experience, there are enormous possibilities that abound. By opening our minds to those possibilities, we open our minds and hearts to love. Birthing a baby is painful and messy. A baby chick must first break open the shell in its own accord in order to hatch. The continuum of life is not set up for the faint of heart, and yet love is the propelling essence and energy that drives the onward and upward evolution of our existence on this earth plane. Take the time this coming week to envision the possibilities that lie untapped before us now. Respond in whatever way you can think of to be a positive influence on those around you and in the world right now. This pandemic, if it has shown us anything, is that we are all truly connected. Say with me, I greet each day knowing the divine light of love and understanding is guiding my every thought, my every word and deed. I release initial tendencies of fear and replace them with the possibilities of what the greater yet to be can be. For this I am eternally grateful, and it is so. So if you would just join me now and letting this divine come into our experience, let's close our eyes, open our hearts, open our awareness to the divine that is within and all around us, leading us and guiding us, being our lives. Just take a breath. Feel that loving energy. Feel that divine presence that truly is propelling us forward. And so we let go of anything else that might be a shadow, might be a worry, letting it go into the nothingness that it came from, and letting that light of love and joy and peace and harmony fill us through and through. Be still and know that I am God. Meditate on that. Let that fill your entire being. Be still and know I am God. So in preparation for the message that will be coming forth, I know that each of us has ears to hear and a heart that is open for that particular message for each and every person. So go within right now and prepare and ask. Be receptive. What is the message for my heart? What is the message that I am to receive? Thank you. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, that it is done and it is done perfectly. Letting it go, knowing it is so. Together we say, and it is so. Amen. Well, we are moving through the month of April with uncertainty, that is for sure. Life has changed, I have to say, probably for everyone on this earth plane. I don't know that there's anybody that's really been unaffected by it. And each of us are coping with it. Each of us are responding to it in our own perfect way, our own unique way. I have seen, as many of you, I'm sure, on the internet, all of the the jokes and all of the videos that have been going on. And I really have to say that they say that medicine is the best, laughter is the best medicine, and I believe that's true. That this idea of let's come forth, let's be creative, or what we can do with this situation that's on the lighthearted side of it is amazing what people are coming up with. And just to laugh and to feel that the release of energy through the laughter is wonderful. It really is healing. And so the people are doing creative things on the internet and on these videos. People are also being creative in their kitchens. I have a friend that is in Prescott, and she was telling me how that, all this downtime that she has, she's taken all of the clippings of all the recipes that she's, collected over the years, and of course they've just been in like a hodgepodge, and she's got them all arranged so that they're all in categories now. And that now she's actually using some of them. She's able to get into the kitchen and, hey, cook up some of these things that she always thought, well, gee, I wonder this might be kind of nice, but hadn't really done it yet. So she's being creative in the kitchen as well. And I think that that's true for many of us. Although I did see one of the gals posted that says, yeah, everybody's saying they're more creative in the kitchen. Well, you know what? I didn't like to cook and I still don't like to cook. So, we are all responding to this in our own perfect way. What this reminds me of too, as I was walking through my kitchen the other day, I had attended a workshop that Walter Starkey presented years ago in Boerne, Texas, at his ranch there. And it was I'd say there was maybe about 13, 15 people, something like that then. And one of the gals that attended was just finishing up her first children's book. And let's see, what was her name? Her name was J.L. Staffer is how she has it on the book. The name of the book was Dare to Dream, and the illustrator was Tom Ricks. Well, they had said that at the end of the retreat that they would bring some books, and if you wanted to buy a book, fine, that they'd love to do that. And they also had made these posters of the book, the pages of the book, and if you bought a poster, then they would sign it as well. So I bought a few of the posters, and one of them I have put on the top of my refrigerator. I put it in a magnetic type of a frame, and I wanted to share it with you. It's called Fresh from the Oven, and I wanted to actually show it to you, what it looks like. Hopefully this is going to work. I don't know. But this is what it looks like. This is the book, Fresh from the Oven. And see the illustrations, aren't they magnificent? Very detailed, a lot going on in that picture. And the story says, the reading says, Fresh from the Oven. I am a chef and I love to create, cooking up delicious ideas and scrumptious recipes that will bring joy to others is my sole purpose, S-U-O-L, in this magnificent life. My universe, like my gurgling pot, is abundant, absolutely full to the brim. Sometimes my ideas bubble right to the surface, but other times they need to slow cook overnight. I have discovered that when I give my heart in the spirit of love and generosity, I receive back from the universe in a greater abundance than I could ever imagine myself. Isn't this a grand way to be in life? Actually, it's probably not really a children's book because I love it. I mean, it's children and adults. Doesn't really matter. But I love the analogy that we have here about life and being a chef. that we get to choose the recipe, we get to choose the ingredients that we are putting into our life and what we're cooking up and the ideas that are coming forth from us. Sometimes they're spontaneous, sometimes they take a little bit of a simmering to come forth. So, as I had said in the thought for the week, with all of this going on, we really do have two choices. That, of course, was in the Course of Miracles, and that is we have the choice to fear or we have the choice to love. And that fear is instinctive in us, honestly, because it's the unknown. That ego sense comes up and it wants to be in control. It wants to know exactly what's going on, and that's understandable. That's natural for us to do that. I was watching a little video that David Hawkins put out here, and he's talking about this whole situation that we're all a part of right now. And that's what's really happening, is that we are being bombarded by this overwhelming wave of energy. And again, our ego self feels totally out of control, and that fear is coming up for us. But he says that our emotions and our feelings that we respond to come from our attitudes, come from just what is within us. And he said the event itself, whether it be the loss of a job, or the loss of a loved one, that hardcore event, those details will be worked out. That life does go on its own, that life does sort things out, that we will handle these things. In fact, it was interesting. I was talking to one of my congregants yesterday, and her father had passed away from the virus in New York, going on a couple weeks ago now, I think. And she was saying how that it was a challenge just to get the remains handled. She had to call over 100 mortuaries in order to find one that was able to give her the services she needed. And she said the hospital would only keep the body for 10 days. So, you're under the gun. And yet, of course, that sorted out. And she was able to, get that handled. And she said, hey, by the way, we're having his celebration of life this next week. And of course, we're putting it on Zoom. If you want to join us, let me know. And so those details are sorted out. But what Hawkins reminded us of is to be aware and look for the underlying energy that is suppressed through this event. This event is wanting to bring these suppressed emotions out, being revealed to be healed. And so we want to recognize that we don't want to just bury our feelings. We do want to recognize them. He talked about it being like the barn door, that when you open the barn door, the animals storm out. Are you going to stop the animals? Heck no, you're not stomping the stampede. So he said the best thing to do is to recognize you've got these emotions, these suppressed emotions. Let them out. Let them be out in the open as quickly as you can, so that they can be let to be experienced and dissipated. As long as they're under pressure, that's what we're feeling. That's what is disconcerting about it. So let that feeling out. And I think probably the laughter is one of the best ways to do it, When we resist something, it persists. So recognize that, yeah, we're under a lot of pressure now. Let's let it out, and let's let ourselves move on. I think it is time to be retrospective. We have all of this time that we don't have to be anywhere. We don't have to go anywhere. Take the opportunity to go within, to feel that divine blessing, that divine love that is just waiting for us. Because I believe that each of us is the divine in expression. That the divine has put us here under its bidding, under its calling. I don't believe that it was under our doing at all. And this divine is still living our lives. And oh my gosh, when we can cooperate with it and recognize it and allow it to live through us, oh my gosh, how much better. I have been reading Joel Goldsmith more recently, and I wanted to share some of his writings. In seeking spiritual truth, you are seeking only His grace, His love, His life, and eventually that is what you will receive. This peace is a freedom from concern, from anxiety, and from fear. Boy, isn't that what we need now? It is inevitable that the world will soon realize that it is the prodigal, that it is not going to be saved by bombs stored away or fed substantially by food laid up or by all the gold. Before they are ready for it, the banquet has been arranged, and the feast has been planned, and the food has been prepared and set out. As long as you live and move and have your being within the spiritual temple of your consciousness, realizing only the presence of spiritual grace, you are living in and through God. And God is really living as you. You are in the Father, and the Father in you, one. You are relaxing your own sense of life that the divine life may take over. This you do silently and secretly, and that which God sees in secret is shouted from the rooftops, not by you, no, by God. We are all the prodigal. We have wandered away from home, wandered away from the feast, wandered away from our true self, our true belonging. And we need to remember to get back to where we can be fed in this unending banquet of the infinite that is ever with us. There is no death. There is no fear of separation from our good, from our love, because it is us. We are always with it. I'm reminded of that movie that I'm sure many of you have watched, and one of my favorites is The Wizard of Oz. And at that very ending, and Dorothy's in bed and she sees everybody. And she says, "There's no place like home. There is no place like home, like our own home, where we are, where we reside, where that God, that love, that energy, that source, that being that we are resides." Take the time to return home this week. I have to say, I did admonish the Signs of Mind magazine last week and the fact that they did not mention Easter at all, but I am going to send their praises out today because I see that their reading of today is spot on, especially for us right here and right now. And it's entitled This Grand Adventure. When you come to a roadblock, take a detour. That's a quote from Mary Kay Ash and from Ernest Holmes' Science of Mind. Each has been furnished with a divine torch whose wick burns from the oil of the eternal and ever-renewing substance of faith in oneself and in others. When I met my friend Lewis, his left leg had been amputated. That didn't stop him, though, and he moved through life easily with his prosthesis. Later, he learned that he had developed diabetes and that his other leg would have to be amputated. Never once did I see Lewis feel sorry for himself. He was always upbeat and approached life with a sense of humor. After the second amputation, I saw Lewis again and he seemed pensive, which was unusual for him. I asked him what was on his mind, and he said, "Well, I'm filling out a job application, and it asks for my height, and I don't know how to answer that question." I learned a lot from Lewis, mostly about living from a place of a mysterious combination of deep acceptance and not letting anything stop you. Even when he was bound to a wheelchair after losing his second leg, he never lost faith that everything was working out just as it should. He continued working and living up to his last breath and never settled for a lesser life. This grand adventure called life sometimes takes us down roads we never imagined. And that's when the gold lies. That's where the gold lies. It's up to us to have the courage to accept that life is unfolding perfectly, even when it appears it is not. I live life fully, gratefully, from a place of deep acceptance and unstoppable faith. These are uncertain times. These are times when we need to remember to go back home, to be fed from that eternal feast and flame of love and light and joy and peace, to return from the world and go back to the divine, to go back home to where that love is so waiting, so joyously waiting to receive us. Go home this week to the love that you are, and then let it out. Let it be demonstrated through you. Let it be flowing through you as only you can. Be that blessing to the world this week. Namaste.